The escape pod shook hard as it entered the planet's thick air. Inside, Lieutenant Hae-Yun Kim fought to stay awake. Blood ran down her face. Her breath came in short, painful gasps. The pod's small screen showed her vital signs. They were not good. "Status report," she whispered to the pod's computer. "Hull integrity at 42%. Oxygen levels falling. Landing in 5 minutes," the cold voice answered. Hae-Yun closed her eyes. She should be dead already. Everyone else was. Her whole team, all 412 soldiers of the 9th Battalion, had died holding the line against the Nexus Dominion forces. They had fought so the civilian ships could escape. That was their job. That was their duty. She remembered the moment clearly, her mech suit failing around her. Enemy ships everywhere. The base's fusion core counting down to self-destruct. She had hit the eject button with her last strength, not really expecting to survive. Yet here she was, somehow still breathing. The pod's screen beeped a warning. Hae-Yun opened her eyes to see a new message. Destination ANOMET. That was strange. The pod was designed to land on the nearest safe surface. It should have put her down somewhere on Epsilon Eridani IV, the planet she had just fought to defend. But the navigation map showed something impossible. She was approaching Hayako, a farming colony 2 star systems away. "Computer, explain current location," Hae-Yun ordered, her voice stronger now as confusion cut through her pain. Unable to explain. No warp drive detected. No conventional propulsion could achieve this distance. "This result is impossible." Hae-Yun stared at the screen. The computer was right. Nothing human-made could travel between stars without a warp drive. The escape pod had no such technology. It was made for short planetary flights, nothing more. Yet the screen didn't lie. Below her, the green and blue world of Hayako grew larger. Somehow, she had traveled light years in minutes. The pod shook harder as it hit the upper clouds. Warning lights flashed red across the control panel. Hae-Yun grabbed the manual controls, trying to guide the failing pod toward a safe landing zone. But her hands weren't working right. The screen showing her vital signs flashed warnings. She was losing too much blood. Through the small window, she saw farmland approaching fast. Too fast. "Brace for impact," the computer announced calmly. Hae-Yun's last thought before the crash was simple. Asterisk, I should be dead with my team. Why am I here? Asterisk. The impact came hard. Metal tore. Glass shattered. The pod's safety foam expanded around her, cushioning the worst of it. Then darkness took her. Hours later, an old farmer named Jae-woo Park spotted something strange in his rice field. A smoking metal object half buried in mud. He approached slowly, his worn boots sinking into the wet earth. When he saw the Earth Defense Fleet symbol on the side, he stopped. "Do-hyun," he called to his son working nearby. "Come quickly. Someone from Earth is here." Together, they pried open the damaged pod door. Inside, wrapped in hardened safety foam now cracking apart, they found a woman in a torn military uniform. Her face was pale under dried blood, but she was breathing. "Is she alive?" Do-hyun asked, leaning closer. As if in answer, Hae-Yun's eyes suddenly opened. They glowed with an unnatural blue light for just a second before fading to normal brown. The farmer and his son jumped back in surprise. "Where am I?" Hae-Yun whispered, her voice dry and cracked. "You're on Hayako," Jae-woo said slowly. "But that's impossible. No ships have come from Earth in months because of the war." Hae-Yun tried to sit up but couldn't. Her body felt wrong somehow, different. As darkness began to take her again, she saw something strange. For just a moment, she could see through the metal of the pod, through the earth beneath her, down to a pulsing blue crystal deep underground. It seemed to be calling to her. "The war," she managed to say before consciousness slipped away. "The war is coming here too." The farmer and his son looked at each other with fear in their eyes. They had come to Hayako to escape the fighting. Now it seemed the war had found them anyway. What they didn't know was that the woman they had just rescued was no longer entirely human, and the fate of worlds now rested on her survival. Helen woke up 3 days later in a small, simple room. Sunlight streamed through wooden shutters. She lay on a firm bed covered with a handmade quilt. For a moment, she thought she was dreaming. The war seemed far away. Then the pain hit her. Her body ached everywhere. When she tried to move, her muscles screamed in protest. "Don't try to get up yet," a gentle voice said. Hei-yun turned her head to see a young man sitting by her bed. He looked about her age, with kind eyes and strong hands that showed years of hard work. "I'm Do-hyun," he said. "You're safe on our farm." "Heiko," Hei-yun whispered, memories of the crash flooding back. "How did I get here?" "It's impossible." Do-hyun nodded. "That's what my father said. Your ship had Earth Defense Fleet markings. No military ships have come to Heiko in years. We're just farmers here." Hei-yun tried to sit up again, and this time Do-hyun helped her. Her uniform had been replaced with simple clothes. Her wounds had been cleaned and wrapped in homemade bandages. "My pod's computer," she said urgently. "I need to check it." "The metal box is badly damaged," Do-hyun replied. "My father tried to get it working, but most of it is broken. We saved what we could." He reached beside the bed and lifted a small metal case. Inside was her neural implant connection device, standard issue for all Earth military officers. Hei-yun took it with shaking hands and pressed it to her temple. Usually, it would connect to her implant and show her basic data, but what she saw now made no sense. Fleet movements, battle plans, Nexus ship locations, information she should never have access to. "This isn't right," she whispered. "I'm just a lieutenant. I don't have clearance for this data." Do-hyun looked confused. "Is it important?" Hei-yun didn't answer. She was staring at a star map showing Nexus fleet movements. According to the data, a small scout fleet was headed toward this sector, toward Heiko. But that made no sense. This farming planet had no strategic value, unless they were looking for her. "How long until your doctor can see me?" she asked, putting the device down. Do-hyun laughed softly. "We don't have doctors like on Earth. My mother knows healing herbs, and we have basic medical supplies. But that's all. Heiko is a simple place." Hei-yun looked around the room again. No advanced technology. No weapons. Just a peaceful farm on a peaceful world. These people wouldn't stand a chance if the Nexus came. She tried to stand up, but dizziness overwhelmed her. As she fell back, Do-hyun caught her. Something strange happened at his touch. For a split second, she could feel his thoughts, his worry for her, his fear of the war reaching their home, his curiosity about who she was. Do-hyun jumped back, eyes wide. "Your eyes," he gasped. They glowed blue again. Hei-yun touched her face. "That happened before. When we found you," he nodded. "Father says it's a side effect of your military implants, but we've seen Earth soldiers before. None of them had eyes that glow." Hei-yun didn't know what to say. She had a standard neural implant, nothing that would make her eyes glow. Something else was happening to her. That night, the dreams started. Hei-yun saw a vast blue crystal, pulsing with energy. It spoke to her without words, showing her images of a war much older than the one she had been fighting. A war against something ancient and hungry that consumed entire civilizations. She woke up screaming, and Do-hyun rushed to her room. "What's wrong?" he asked, lighting a small lamp. "There's something under your farm," Hei-yun said, her voice shaking. "Deep underground. A crystal. Blue. Massive. It's been here for thousands of years." Do-hyun stared at her. "How could you know that?" "The crystal caves are 10 miles from here. No one goes there anymore. People say they're haunted." Now it was Hei-yun's turn to be surprised. "You know about the crystal?" "Everyone on Heiko knows the stories," he said quietly. "The first settlers found the caves 100 years ago. Those who stayed too long came back changed. Some never came back at all. Hei-yun looked down at her hands. In the dim light, she could see faint blue lines under her skin, like glowing veins. When she concentrated, a small cup on the bedside table moved slightly without her touching it. Whatever had happened during her death, an impossible journey had changed her. The crystal was somehow connected to it all. "I need to see these caves," she said firmly. Do-hyun shook his head. "You're too weak. And it's not safe. Rest first." Hei-yun wanted to argue, but she knew he was right. She needed to heal. Because if her neural implant was correct, the Nexus were coming. And she somehow knew they were coming for the crystal. And maybe for her too. 3 months passed on the quiet farm. Hei-yun grew stronger each day. The Park family welcomed her as one of their own. She helped with farm work to repay their kindness. Working the land brought her peace after years of war. But at night, the dreams came. The blue crystal called to her. It showed her visions of stars and planets. And lately, it showed her something else. Nexus ships moving through space toward Haiko. One morning, Hei-yun woke up covered in sweat. The dream had been clearer than ever. "They're coming," she whispered. 3 days. Maybe 4. She got up and went outside. Do-hyun was already working in the fields. Over the past months, they had become close friends. He taught her about farming. She told him stories about Earth and the stars she had visited. "Do-hyun," she called. "I need to speak with the colony leaders today." He looked up from his work, wiping sweat from his brow. "About your dreams." "They're not just dreams," Hei-yun said firmly. "I've been a soldier long enough to know when a threat is real." Do-hyun nodded. He had come to trust her judgment. "Father is going to the main settlement today. We can go with him." The settlement was small but busy. About 5,000 people lived on Haiko, most of them farmers. The colonial administrator's office was the largest building, a 2-story structure made of local wood and earth metals. Hei-yun stood before Administrator Jun, a round man with a permanent frown. "Sir, I believe the colony is in danger. Nexus ships will arrive within days." Jun laughed. "Lieutenant Kim, I understand you've been through a traumatic experience, but Haiko has no military value. Why would the Nexus come here?" "I don't know their reasons," Hei-yun admitted, "but I've seen them coming." "In dreams," Jun said flatly. "I'm sorry, but we can't sound a planet-wide alarm based on a soldier's nightmares." Hei-yun clenched her fists. The blue lines under her skin glowed faintly. A cup on Jun's desk shook slightly. Do-hyun put a hand on her arm, calming her. "Thank you for your time," Do-hyun said politely, leading Hei-yun out. Outside, Hei-yun kicked a stone in frustration. "He won't listen. Nobody will listen until it's too late." "I believe you," Do-hyun said simply. Hei-yun looked at him gratefully. "Then help me. If the leaders won't prepare, we have to find another way to warn people." That night, they returned to the settlement secretly. Hei-yun had a plan. "The colonial administrator must have some kind of communication system. We need to send a warning to the nearest Earth defense outpost." They slipped into the administrator's building through a back door. The night guard was asleep at his desk. They moved quietly past him. In Jun's office, Do-hyun kept watch while Hei-yun searched for a communication device. Instead, she found something strange. A hidden door behind a bookshelf. "Do-hyun," she whispered. "Look." The door led to a small room underground. Inside was advanced communication equipment, far more sophisticated than a farming colony should have. "This is military grade," Hei-yun said, studying the controls. "And look at this log. Regular transmissions to these coordinates." She pointed to a series of numbers on the screen. Do-hyun looked over her shoulder. "What does it mean?" Hei-yun's face darkened. "These are Nexus coordinates. Someone has been sending messages to the enemy." "Administrator Jun?" Do-hyun asked in shock. "Maybe. Or someone else in the colony." He-Yun started working on the equipment. We need to send a warning to Earth forces, and we need to find who's been communicating with the Nexus. She connected her neural implant device to the system. As soon as she did, something strange happened. The blue lines under her skin glowed brightly. Her consciousness seemed to expand, flowing into the communication network. Suddenly, He-Yun could see data streams moving through the colony. She could read messages being sent and received. She could feel the electronic pulse of every device connected to the network. And far away in space, she could sense the Nexus ships. They were closer than she had thought. They would arrive tomorrow. He-Yun gasped as her mind snapped back to her body. Blood trickled from her nose. He-Yun. Do-Hyun caught her as she swayed. What happened? She wiped the blood away with a shaking hand. I saw them. Do-Hyun, I saw everything. The Nexus will attack at dawn. They'll hit the main settlement first, then spread out. How could you know that? He asked, his eyes wide. I don't know how, she admitted, but we have no time. We need to warn everyone now. As they hurried out of the building, He-Yun felt different, stronger, more connected to everything around her. The crystal's energy was growing inside her, and somehow she knew exactly what to do when the enemy arrived. She had escaped one battlefield only to find herself preparing for another. But this time, she wasn't just fighting for duty. She was fighting for a home, for people who had shown her kindness, and for Do-Hyun, whose worried face in the darkness meant more to her than she was ready to admit. Dawn broke over Hyeko with golden light. Any other day, it would have been beautiful. Today, it brought death. He-Yun stood on the settlement's edge, watching the sky. Beside her, Do-Hyun had gathered about 30 farmers armed with tools and old hunting weapons. They won't be enough, He-Yun said quietly. They're all we have, Do-Hyun replied. Most people didn't believe our warning. Even my father thinks we're overreacting. He-Yun touched the damaged blaster at her hip, the only weapon she had saved from her escape pod. It had maybe 10 shots left. Not enough to fight an invasion. We need to focus on evacuation, not fighting, she said. Get as many people to the southern hills as possible. The dense forests there will provide cover. Do-Hyun nodded and began organizing evacuation teams. Just as they started moving, He-Yun felt it, a pressure in her mind, a whisper from above. They're here, she said, looking up. 6 Nexus ships pierced the clouds. They were small and sleek, scout vessels, not the massive destroyers He-Yun had fought before. This wasn't a full invasion force. They were searching for something. The ships descended on the main settlement with surgical precision. Buildings at the colony center exploded in fire. People ran screaming as Nexus soldiers in black armor dropped from the ships. They're heading for the administrator's building, He-Yun observed. The communication room must be what they want. What do we do? Asked a farmer named Gai-Ho, clutching a pitchfork. He-Yun took a deep breath. She felt the strange power flowing through her body, the blue lines under her skin glowing faintly. Get everyone moving south, she told Do-Hyun. I'll distract them. That's suicide, Do-Hyun protested. He-Yun smiled grimly. I should already be dead. I'm living on borrowed time. Before he could stop her, she moved toward the center of the settlement. The blaster felt small in her hand, but she had something else now, something the crystal had given her. The first Nexus soldiers spotted her and raised their weapons. He-Yun focused her mind the way she had the night before. She reached out with her thoughts and felt the mechanisms in their guns. With a mental twist, she jammed them. The soldiers looked at their useless weapons in confusion. Then they charged her with blade attachments extended. He-Yun moved faster than she ever had before. She dodged the first attack and fired her blaster, taking down one soldier. She rolled under the second swing and pushed with her mind, sending him flying backward. More soldiers came. He-Yun fought with everything she had, blaster, fists, and her new mental powers. Objects flew at her command. She could sense enemies before they attacked. But there were too many. A blast caught her in the shoulder, spinning her around. She fell to one knee, pain searing through her body. A tall Nexus figure approached. Unlike the others, this one wore ornate armor with command insignia. The commander's helmet retracted, revealing a pale face with eyes too large for a human. "Lieutenant Hae-Yun Kim," the commander said in perfect Earth standard. "So it's true. You survived." Ha-Yun stared in shock. "How do you know my name?" "We've been looking for you since Epsilon Eridani," the commander said. "When your signal appeared here, we came immediately." "My signal?" Hae-Yun didn't understand. "The crystalline chose well," the commander said, studying her glowing blue veins. "But it's not complete yet. You're still changing." The commander reached for her. Hae-Yun tried to back away, but two soldiers grabbed her arms. As the commander's hand touched her face, she acted on instinct. She pushed her consciousness outward, into the commander's mind. Images flooded her, the Nexus homeworld burning. A massive darkness spreading across space, millions of minds being consumed by something ancient and hungry. The Nexus weren't invaders by choice. They were being controlled. The commander screamed and pulled away. "She's connected to the network. Take her alive." Suddenly, a farming tool flew through the air, striking one of the soldiers holding Hae-Yun. Do-Hyun charged forward with several farmers, creating enough chaos for Hae-Yun to break free. "This way," he shouted, grabbing her good arm. They ran through burning buildings. Behind them, the commander shouted orders. Nexus soldiers began a systematic sweep of the settlement. "You were supposed to evacuate," Hae-Yun gasped as they took cover in an abandoned storage building. "I couldn't leave you," Do-Hyun said simply. Hae-Yun wanted to be angry, but there was no time. "They're not here to conquer Hyako," she explained quickly. "They're looking for me and the crystal. When I touched the commander's mind, I saw things. The Nexus are being controlled by something else, something ancient. What do we do now?" Do-Hyun asked. Hae-Yun touched her wounded shoulder. The blue lines under her skin were converging on the injury, healing it faster than normal. "We need to get to the crystal caves," she said. "Whatever is happening to me, whatever brought me here, the answers are there." Do-Hyun nodded. "There's a back way through the forest, but we'll need supplies." "We need weapons too," Hae-Yun added. She looked around the storage building and spotted farming equipment. "This will have to do." As they gathered what they needed, explosions continued outside. The Nexus were methodically searching the settlement. "Why did they call you the Crystalline's choice?" Do-Hyun asked quietly. Hae-Yun shook her head. "I don't know, but I'm going to find out." She looked at her hands, at the blue energy flowing beneath her skin. She was no longer just Lieutenant Hae-Yun Kim of the Earth Defense Fleet. She was becoming something else, something both wonderful and terrible. And somehow, she knew the crystal caves would either complete her transformation or kill her trying. The forest grew thicker as Hae-Yun and Do-Hyun moved away from the burning settlement. They had been walking for hours. Night was falling, bringing a deep chill to the air. "We should rest," Do-Hyun said, setting down the pack of supplies he carried. "The caves are still a few hours away." Hae-Yun nodded. Her shoulder wound had almost healed, the blue energy under her skin working like nothing she had seen before. She sat on a fallen tree, watching the distant glow of fires from the settlement. "I led them here," she said quietly. "All those people suffering because of me." Do-Hyun sat beside her. "You didn't ask for any of this. And you tried to warn everyone." "The Nexus commander knew me," Hae-Yun continued. "He said they've been tracking me since Epsilon Eridani." "How is that possible? My pod wasn't even designed for space travel." "Maybe the crystal brought you here," Do-Hyun suggested. "The old stories say the crystals can do strange things, move objects, show visions, even heal people." Hae-Yun looked at her hands. The blue lines pulsed gently. "I think you're right. But why me? Why not someone stronger? Someone more important?" Do-hyun had no answer. They sat in silence, eating a little of their supplies before continuing their journey. As they got closer to the mountains, Do-hyun felt a pull in her mind. Something was calling her, growing stronger with each step. The blue lines under her skin glowed brighter. "It's close," she whispered. The cave entrance was hidden behind thick vines on the mountainside. No path led to it. They would have missed it completely if not for Do-hyun's strange connection guiding them. "The elders say no one has entered these caves in decades," Do-hyun said as they pushed aside the vines. "They say the crystal's song drives people mad." Do-hyun could hear it now, not with her ears, but in her mind. The high, clear note that seemed to resonate with the energy flowing through her body. "I can hear it," she said, "but it doesn't feel dangerous to me. It feels like coming home." They entered the cave, using a small light from their supplies. The tunnel sloped downward, leading deep into the mountain. As they descended, the blue glow from Do-hyun's skin grew bright enough to light their way. "Your whole body is glowing now," Do-hyun observed, his voice filled with wonder and a little fear. Do-hyun could feel the changes in herself. Her senses were sharper. She could see in the dark. She could feel the rock around them, sense its age and composition with just a thought. The tunnel opened into a massive cavern. And there it was. A crystal formation taller than 10 men stood in the center. It glowed bright blue, pulsing with energy that matched the rhythm of Do-hyun's heartbeat. Smaller crystals grew from the walls and ceiling, all connected to the main formation. "It's beautiful," Do-hyun whispered. Do-hyun stepped forward, drawn to the crystal. As she approached, the song in her mind grew louder. Images flashed before her eyes. Planets, stars, ancient civilizations rising and falling. They were called the architects, she said, the knowledge suddenly flowing into her mind. They built these crystals as a network across the galaxy, nodes in a defense system. Defense against what? Do-hyun asked, staying close behind her. "The hunger," Do-hyun answered. The words came without thought, as if someone else was speaking through her. An ancient intelligence that consumes worlds. It was dormant for millennia. The Nexus woke it during their deep space exploration. She placed her hand on the crystal. Energy surged through her body. The blue lines beneath her skin spread, covering her completely in glowing patterns. "The hunger takes control of species, uses them as its army," she continued, her voice distant. "The Nexus were the first to fall. Others will follow unless the network is reactivated." The crystal's light intensified around her hand. Information poured into her mind. Technical knowledge, star maps, battle plans from wars fought millions of years ago. "The architects are gone," Do-hyun said. "They built the crystals as a last defense, but they needed living operators, beings who could bond with the network and direct its power." "Guardians," Do-hyun said, remembering the old stories. Do-hyun nodded. "They tried many times to create guardians from different species. Most failed. The connection killed them or drove them mad." "But not you," Do-hyun said, reaching for her other hand. "You survived." When their hands touched, Do-hyun gasped. Through Do-hyun, he could feel a fraction of the crystal's power, the vast knowledge, the energy that spanned stars. "When my pod was about to crash on Epsilon Eridani," Do-hyun said, "the crystal there was dying. It reached out, changed me, sent me here to activate this node instead." "Why you?" Do-hyun asked again. Do-hyun saw the answer in the crystal's knowledge. "Compatibility. Something in my mind, my DNA. 1 in billions. The crystal was waiting for someone like me for centuries." She pulled her hand away from the crystal, the blue glow fading slightly but not disappearing. "I understand now," she said, looking at Do-hyun with eyes that glowed blue. "I'm not just a soldier anymore. I'm becoming a guardian. The first human to successfully bond with the network." The ground suddenly shook beneath them. Dust fell from the cavern ceiling. "The Nexus," Do-hyun said, her enhanced senses detecting ships approaching. "They've tracked us. They're coming for the crystal. What do we do? Do-hyun asked, fear in his voice. Hae-yun looked at the crystal, then back at Do-hyun. For the first time since arriving on Hyako, she felt certain of her purpose. We fight, she said. And I use what the crystal has given me. The blue lines across her skin glowed brighter. Objects around the cavern began to float as her powers grew stronger. Hae-yun Kim, once just a lieutenant trying to survive, was becoming something the galaxy hadn't seen in thousands of years. A guardian was awakening, and the hunger would soon learn to fear her. Hae-yun stood at the mouth of the cave, watching Nexus ships circle overhead. Her body hummed with crystal energy. The blue patterns on her skin cast light in the growing darkness. They're searching the whole mountain, she said. We don't have much time. Do-hyun joined her at the entrance. We should hide deeper in the caves. Hae-yun shook her head. No, I'm tired of running. She looked down at her glowing hands. The crystal gave me these powers for a reason. I should use them. Despite her words, doubt filled her mind. She was a soldier, trained to follow orders and fight conventional battles. This was something else entirely. Being a guardian meant carrying the fate of worlds on her shoulders. What if I'm not ready? She whispered. What if I fail? Do-hyun touched her arm gently. You won't be alone. Their moment was cut short by the sound of engines. A Nexus ship landed in the clearing below the cave. Soldiers poured out, led by the same commander from the settlement. They found us, Do-hyun said. Hae-yun stepped back into the shadows. I need to get back to the crystal. I think I can use it to defend us. They hurried through the tunnel, back to the massive cavern. Hae-yun placed her hands on the crystal again. This time, she knew what to do. She let her consciousness merge with the crystal network, feeling its power flow through her. The Nexus are inside the mountain, she said, her eyes closed. 20 soldiers. They're coming this way. What can I do? Do-hyun asked. Stay behind me. Hae-yun replied. And whatever happens, don't interfere. The power, it's hard to control. The first Nexus soldiers appeared at the cavern entrance. They raised their weapons, then hesitated at the sight of the massive crystal and Hae-yun's glowing form. Hold fire, the commander ordered, stepping forward. Lieutenant Kim. The transformation is progressing faster than expected. Who are you? Hae-yun demanded. And what do you want from me? I am Commander Raisu. I serve the hunger, as all Nexus do now. The commander's voice was flat, emotionless. We want what you have become, access to the Architect Network. The crystal chose me, Hae-yun said. It won't work for you. No, Raisu agreed. But we can study you. Learn how to force a connection. The hunger has consumed many worlds, but the crystal network remains beyond its reach. You are the key to changing that. Hae-yun felt anger rise within her. I won't help you. I won't let the hunger use me to destroy more worlds. The commander sighed. You misunderstand, Lieutenant. We're not asking. The Nexus soldiers raised their weapons again. Hae-yun acted on instinct, reaching out with her mind. The crystal pulsed behind her, amplifying her powers. A wave of energy knocked the soldiers back. Weapons flew from their hands. But Hae-yun's control wasn't perfect. The wave kept expanding, cracking the cavern walls. Rocks began to fall from the ceiling. Hae-yun, Do-hyun shouted. The cave is collapsing. She tried to pull back the energy, but it was too much. The power overwhelmed her, flowing uncontrolled through the cavern. More Nexus soldiers fell, but the destruction spread too. We need to get out. Do-hyun grabbed her arm, trying to pull her away from the crystal. I can't leave it, Hae-yun said. If the Nexus take the crystal, a massive crack split the cavern floor. Commander Raisu scrambled back as the ground gave way beneath him. Nexus soldiers retreated in panic. Hae-yun, please, Do-hyun begged. We'll find another way. Hae-yun looked at the crystal one last time. Part of her wanted to stay, to complete the connection, and embrace her role as guardian. But as she looked at Do Hyun's face, she realized she wasn't ready to sacrifice her humanity yet. "Okay," she said, pulling her hands away. The blue glow dimmed slightly. "Let's go." They ran through the shaking tunnel as the mountain rumbled around them. Behind them, the crystal cavern began to collapse. Hye-yeon felt a sharp pain in her mind as her connection to the crystal stretched thin. They burst out of the cave into the night air. Below, Nexus soldiers were retreating to their ships. The entire mountainside was shifting. "We need to get farther away," Hye-yeon said, pulling Do-hyun into the forest. They ran until the sounds of falling rock faded. When they finally stopped, Hye-yeon fell to her knees, gasping. The blue patterns on her skin had faded to faint lines. "I failed," she whispered. "I couldn't control it." "You saved us," Do-hyun countered. "You drove the Nexus away." "But for how long?" Hye-yeon looked back toward the mountain. "The crystal is buried now. I can still feel it, but the connection is weaker." Do-hyun helped her stand. "What happens now?" Hye-yeon closed her eyes, searching the faint connection that remained. Images came to her, other crystals, other nodes in the network, some dormant, some weakly active. "There are other crystals," she said. "The network spans the galaxy. We need to find them, activate them properly." "We?" Do-hyun asked. Hye-yeon looked at him. In the short time she had known him, this farmer's son had shown more courage than many soldiers she had fought beside. "I can't do this alone," she admitted. "The power is too much. I need someone to keep me human." Do-hyun smiled. "Then I'll stay with you." In the distance, they saw lights rising. Nexus ships leaving the planet. But Hye-yeon knew they would be back, with more forces, more determination. "We need to warn Earth," she said. "The Nexus aren't the real enemy. The hunger is, and it won't stop with one world or one species." As dawn broke over the forest, Hye-yeon Kim, soldier, survivor, reluctant guardian, made her choice. She wouldn't run from her destiny anymore, but she would face it on her own terms, with humanity intact. And with Do-hyun at her side, she might just have a chance to succeed where the architects had failed. The battle for Hyeko was over. The war against the hunger was just beginning. 3 days after the mountain collapsed, Hye-yeon and Do-hyun reached what remained of the settlement. Most buildings were damaged or destroyed. Few people had returned. "We need to find a working ship," Hye-yeon said as they walked through empty streets. "The Nexus will bring more forces soon." The blue lines under her skin had faded to thin traces, but she could still feel the crystal's power inside her. The connection was weak, but not broken. Sometimes, when she closed her eyes, she caught glimpses of other crystals waiting across the stars. "Where will we go?" Do-hyun asked. "New Seoul," Hye-yeon replied. "It's a frontier colony 3 systems away. There's a crystal node there. I can see it through the network." Do-hyun looked surprised. "You can see that far?" Hye-yeon nodded. "The architects built the network to span the entire galaxy. Distance means little to it." They found the colony's small spaceport largely intact. Most ships had fled when the attack began, but one small transport remained. It was old and battered, but its engines looked functional. "Can you fly this?" Do-hyun asked as they approached. "Basic pilot training was required for all officers," Hye-yeon said. She touched the ship's access panel. To her surprise, the blue energy flowed from her fingertips, bypassing the security codes. The door slid open. "That's a new trick," Do-hyun said. "The crystal's knowledge includes architect technology," Hye-yeon explained. "This ship is much simpler." They boarded quickly, gathering what supplies remained in the storage compartments. As Hye-yeon started the engines, an alarm sounded from the communication system. "Incoming transmission," she said, flipping switches on the control panel. From orbit, a voice crackled through the speakers. "Attention Hyeko Colony. This is Admiral Taiwan Kang of the Earth Defense Fleet. We are responding to your distress signal." Please identify yourselves. Haeyun grabbed the transmitter. Admiral Kang, this is Lieutenant Haeyun Kim, 9th Battalion, ID code Lima 7-49 Echo. Silence followed. Then, Lieutenant Kim was reported killed in action at Epsilon Eridani. Identify yourself properly or face immediate action. Sir, Haeyun insisted, I escaped before the base self-destructed. I can prove my identity. My commanding officer was Colonel Jae-hun Park. The 9th Battalion's last mission was Operation Broken Shield. After a long pause, the Admiral responded, Stand by for landing party, Lieutenant. Do not attempt to leave the surface. Haeyun looked at Do-hyun. This changes things. Earth forces can help us. Can they be trusted? Do-hyun asked. The Nexus found us because someone sent them signals from the colony. Admiral Kang is one of our best commanders. Haeyun said, If anyone will listen about the hunger, it's him. 2 hours later, they stood in the colony's damaged landing field as an Earth defense shuttle touched down. Soldiers in full combat gear emerged first, surrounding them with weapons ready. Then a tall man with gray hair and a stern face stepped out. Admiral Kang studied Haeyun with narrow eyes. Lieutenant Kim, he said finally, you look different from your service photos. Haeyun straightened to attention. Sir, a lot has happened. The Admiral nodded to a woman in a science uniform. Dr. Min, verify her identity. The doctor approached with a scanner. As it passed over Haeyun, it beeped rapidly. The doctor frowned. DNA matches Lieutenant Kim, sir, but there are anomalies, significant cellular changes, and energy readings unlike anything I've seen before. Admiral Kang's expression hardened. Lieutenant, you will submit to full examination on my ship. Your friend will be detained for questioning. Sir, Haeyun stepped forward. That's not necessary. Do-hyun helped me survive, and I need to report on a threat greater than the Nexus. You will report everything aboard my ship, the Admiral said firmly. We received your transmission about this hunger entity. It requires investigation. Haeyun felt uneasy, but she had no choice. This was her chance to warn Earth properly. As soldiers escorted them to the shuttle, she whispered to Do-hyun, Stay close to me. Aboard the Admiral's ship, the _steadfast_, Haeyun told her story. She explained the crystal network, the architects, and the hunger. She demonstrated her new abilities, moving objects with her mind, sensing electronic systems, even healing the small cut on her arm in minutes. Admiral Kang watched it all with cold interest. When she finished, he was silent for a long time. Military science has never encountered anything like this, he said finally. The crystal you described could be the most powerful weapon we've ever discovered. It's not just a weapon, Haeyun protested. It's part of a defense system. It chose me as its guardian. And yet you left it buried in a mountain, the Admiral noted. I couldn't control it fully, Haeyun admitted. But there are other nodes. On New Sol we can. Yes, New Sol, the Admiral interrupted. We will investigate this crystal network thoroughly. Dr. Min will continue studying your condition. Meanwhile, you will remain under medical observation. Haeyun realized then that the Admiral saw her only as a means to access the crystal power. Sir, with respect, we don't have time for studies. The Nexus will return with larger forces. They want the crystal network too. Then we will secure it first, Admiral Kang stated. You are dismissed, Lieutenant. Guards escorted Haeyun and Do-hyun to separate quarters. As they were separated, Do-hyun's eyes met hers with worry. Haeyun sent him a silent message. Wait for my signal. Alone in her room, Haeyun sat cross-legged on the floor. She closed her eyes and reached for the fading connection to the Hyeko crystal. Instead, she found something new. A thin thread leading to New Sol, growing stronger as the ship moved through space. The network is waking up, she realized. It's responding to me. She pushed her consciousness along that thread, stretching farther than ever before. Suddenly, she was seeing through the crystal on New Sol, a node larger than the one on Hyako, hidden beneath an ancient volcano. And she could do more than see. As she focused, she felt her physical body begin to dissolve into energy. The blue patterns spread across her skin, glowing brightly. The walls around her seemed to fade. With a gasp, Hei-yun pulled back. Her body solidified again as the blue glow faded. She understood now what the crystal network truly offered. Transportation between nodes, instant travel across vast distances. She could reach New Sol without the Admiral's ship, and she could take Do-hyun with her. That night, as the ship's lights dimmed for the sleep cycle, Hei-yun reached out with her mind. She found the ship's systems and disabled the locks on their doors. Then she sent a mental call to Do-hyun. Come to my room. Quickly and quietly. When he arrived, his eyes widened at the sight of her. The blue patterns had returned, brighter than before. Hei-yun, what's happening? I found a way to New Sol, she said, extending her hand. Do you trust me? Do-hyun took her hand without hesitation. Always. The blue energy spread from her skin to his. Hei-yun closed her eyes and reached for the distant crystal node. The room around them began to fade as their bodies turned to energy. Across the ship, alarms began to sound. The last thing Hei-yun heard was Admiral Kang's voice ordering soldiers to her room. Then they were gone, traveling through the crystal network to a new world and the next stage of their journey. They materialized inside a dark cave. Blue light faded from their bodies as they became solid again. Hei-yun fell to her knees, gasping. Do-hyun caught her before she hit the ground. Hei-yun, are you all right? He asked, his voice echoing in the darkness. Just tired, she managed to say. The transport took more energy than I expected. Do-hyun helped her sit against the cave wall. They were in a massive cavern, larger than the one on Hyako, and at its center stood a crystal formation 3 times the size of the one they had left behind. Is this New Sol? Do-hyun asked, staring at the enormous crystal. Hei-yun nodded weakly. The crystal brought us to its node. We must be beneath the colony. As her strength returned, Hei-yun studied their surroundings. Unlike the Hyako cave, this one showed signs of human activity. Lights had been installed along the walls. Scientific equipment sat on tables near the crystal. Someone has been studying it, she said. Footsteps echoed suddenly from a tunnel. Hei-yun tried to stand, but her legs were still too weak. Do-hyun placed himself between her and the sound. A woman appeared, holding a light. She wore the white coat of a scientist, with the Earth Science Academy symbol on the sleeve. She stopped in shock at the sight of them. Who are you? The woman demanded. How did you get in here? This area is restricted. I'm Hei-yun Kim, Hei-yun said. This is Do-hyun Park. We came through the crystal network. The woman's eyes widened. Impossible. The crystal doesn't transport matter. It does now, Hei-yun said. She held up her arm, showing the faint blue lines under her skin. I'm connected to it. The woman approached slowly, her scientific curiosity overcoming her caution. I'm Professor Sung Hee-yoon. I've been studying this crystal formation for 5 years. She examined Hei-yun's arm with amazement. You say you traveled through the network. From where? Hyako. Do-hyun answered. The Nexus attacked. They were looking for the crystal there. Professor Yoon's face paled. The Nexus know about the crystals. They're looking for all of them, Hei-yun explained. They serve something called the Hunger, an ancient entity that consumes worlds. She told the professor everything. Her impossible journey from Epsilon Eridani, her transformation, the architects and their defense network. As she spoke, the blue lines under her skin began to glow again, responding to the nearby crystal. Fascinating, Professor Yoon whispered when Hei-yun finished. My team has only scratched the surface of understanding these crystals. We've detected energy patterns, strange frequencies, but nothing like what you describe. Where is your team now? Du Hyun asked, looking around the empty cave. They'll return tomorrow morning. I often work nights alone, the professor said. The crystal's energy seems stronger then. Hae-yeon forced herself to stand, leaning on Du Hyun for support. Professor, we don't have much time. The Earth Defense Fleet is on its way here. Admiral Kang wants to use the crystal as a weapon, and the Nexus might not be far behind. Professor Yoon looked troubled. A weapon? No, that's not what it's for. Our research shows it's a communication device of some kind, perhaps even a power source. It's both those things and more, Hae-yeon said. She walked unsteadily toward the crystal. It needs to be activated properly. As she approached, the crystal began to glow brighter. The blue lines across her skin responded, spreading further until her whole body shimmered with energy. Careful, Du Hyun warned. Remember what happened on Haiko. Hae-yeon nodded. I'll be more controlled this time. She placed her hands on the crystal surface. Instantly, she felt the connection. Stronger, clearer than before. Knowledge flowed into her mind. She saw the crystal network spreading across the galaxy like a vast web. Most nodes were dormant, but some glowed faintly. And with each node she awakened, her connection to all of them would grow stronger. She also sensed something dark moving between the stars. The hunger was expanding, consuming worlds at the edge of known space. The Nexus fleets were spreading in all directions, seeking more crystal nodes. And she saw something else. Other beings like her. Guardians from other species, connected to the network. Most were in hiding, their worlds long fallen to the hunger. But they were watching, waiting for the network to reactivate. Hae-yeon pulled back slightly, maintaining the connection but keeping her consciousness separate. There are others, she told Du Hyun and the professor. Other guardians. We're not alone. Can you contact them? Professor Yoon asked. Hae-yeon closed her eyes, focusing. She sent a call through the network, a simple message. I am Hae-yeon Kim of Earth, a new guardian. I seek your guidance. The response came as a whisper in her mind, a voice speaking a language she shouldn't understand but somehow did. We have waited long, human guardian. The hunger grows stronger. The time of hiding is ending. Find the core node. Activate the spear. The core node, Hae-yeon repeated. The spear. They say we need to find them. What are those? Du Hyun asked. Hae-yeon searched the crystal's knowledge. The core node is the center of the network, where the architects built their greatest technologies. And the spear, her eyes widened. It's a weapon designed to fight the hunger, one of many hidden throughout the galaxy. Professor Yoon was typing rapidly on a small device. This changes everything. If we can access architect technology. She was interrupted by an alarm from her communication device. Defense fleet ships entering orbit, a voice reported. They're demanding access to the crystal cavern, Professor. Admiral Kang, Hae-yeon said grimly. He tracked us somehow. What do we do? Du Hyun asked. We can't let him take control of the crystal. Hae-yeon considered their options. She could try to transport them again through the network, but she was still weak from the first journey, and running wouldn't solve the larger problem. We need allies, she decided. Professor, will you help us? Professor Yoon hesitated only briefly. 5 years studying this crystal has taught me one thing. It's not meant to be a weapon. If what you say is true, we're facing something far worse than the Nexus. Yes, I'll help you. Hae-yeon turned to the crystal again. With newfound determination, she placed her hands on its surface and channeled energy through it. The entire cavern lit up with blue light as the crystal responded. I'm sending a message, she explained, her voice strained with effort. To Earth and to the other guardians. Everyone needs to know what we're facing. Through the crystal network, Hae-yeon's consciousness expanded across space. She showed Earth's leaders visions of the hunger, of worlds already fallen. She revealed the truth about the Nexus, a species enslaved rather than naturally hostile. And she sent coordinates, locations of other crystal nodes that needed protection. As she pulled back, exhausted, the professor's communication device beeped again. "Fleet ships are landing," the voice reported. "Military forces approaching the cavern entrance." Hei-Yun looked at Do-Hyun and Professor Yoon. Her path was clear now. "We can't run anymore," she said. "It's time to make a stand." Outside, boots echoed in the tunnel as Admiral Kang's forces approached. But Hei-Yun Kim stood tall before the crystal, no longer afraid of her powers or her destiny. The reluctant guardian had found her purpose. The storm was gathering across the galaxy, and she would face it head-on. Admiral Kang entered the crystal cavern with 20 soldiers behind him. His eyes widened at the sight of the massive crystal formation, then narrowed when he saw Hei-Yun standing before it. "Lieutenant Kim," he said coldly, "you disobeyed direct orders and fled my ship." "With respect, sir," Hei-Yun replied, "I'm following a higher duty now." The Admiral's gaze shifted to Professor Yoon. "Professor, you were supposed to report any developments with the crystal, not harbor fugitives." Professor Yoon stepped forward. "Admiral, Lieutenant Kim has made a breakthrough we've been working toward for years. The crystal network is far more important than we realized." "So I've heard," Admiral Kang said. "A galactic defense system. Ancient enemies. Quite a story, Lieutenant." "It's not a story," Hei-Yun insisted. "I can prove it. The hunger is real, and it's coming." Before the Admiral could respond, alarms blared throughout the cavern. A young officer rushed in. "Sir, multiple Nexus ships have appeared in orbit around Haikou. They're attacking our forces." Admiral Kang's face hardened. "How many ships?" "At least 30, sir. Much larger force than reported in the first attack." Hei-Yun felt cold fear grip her heart. "They're going after the crystal there again. They must have detected my message through the network." The Admiral studied her for a long moment. "You believe they tracked your communication?" "Yes," Hei-Yun admitted. "The network is still waking up. I couldn't shield the signal properly." Admiral Kang turned to his officers. "Prepare the fleet for immediate departure to Haikou. Full battle stations." He looked back at Hei-Yun. "Lieutenant, if what you say is true, we'll need your abilities. Will you fight with us?" Hei-Yun glanced at Do-Hyun, who nodded slightly. "I will, sir, but not as your weapon. As a guardian of the crystal network." "Call yourself what you will," the Admiral said. "Just help us stop the Nexus." 6 hours later, Hei-Yun stood on the bridge of the flagship _steadfast_ as it dropped out of warp near Haikou. The scene before them was chaos. Earth defense ships exchanged fire with Nexus vessels. The planet's surface showed multiple impact zones where battles rage. "The Nexus are concentrating forces near the Crystal Cave," a tactical officer reported. "They've landed ground troops." Admiral Kang turned to Hei-Yun. "Can you still connect to the Haikou crystal, even buried?" Hei-Yun closed her eyes, reaching through the network. "Yes. It's damaged but active. I can feel it." "Then that's where we're going," the Admiral decided. "Professor Yoon, you and your team stay aboard. Lieutenant Kim, you and Do-Hyun will join the ground forces with me." Hei-Yun looked surprised. "You're leading the ground assault personally." The Admiral's face was grim. "If this crystal network is as important as you claim, I need to see it firsthand." They landed near the mountain where the crystal cave had partially collapsed. Nexus forces had already established a perimeter and were digging into the mountainside. Earth forces engaged them in fierce combat. Admiral Kang led his team toward the fighting. Clear a path to the cave entrance. Hei-Yun felt the crystal's energy growing stronger as they approached. The blue lines spread across her skin once more, glowing brightly. Soldiers on both sides paused briefly at the sight of her. "Stay close," she told Do-Hyun. A group of Nexus soldiers turned their weapons toward them. Hei-Yun raised her hand. focusing her mind. The soldiers' weapons jammed instantly. When they charged with blade attachments, she pushed with her thoughts, sending them flying backward. "Impressive," Admiral Kang muttered. They fought their way forward. Earth forces rallied around them, pushing toward the cave entrance. Then He-Yun saw him, Commander Raisu, directing Nexus troops from a raised position. Their eyes met across the battlefield. The commander spoke into a communication device, and suddenly all Nexus forces focused their fire on He-Yun. "They're targeting you," Do-Hyun shouted, pulling her behind cover. "They want to stop me from reaching the crystal," He-Yun said. "They know what I can do with it." Admiral Kang joined them behind the rocky outcrop. "We're pinned down. We need a new approach." He-Yun looked toward the mountain. Through her connection to the network, she could feel the buried crystal singing to her. It was calling her, offering power. "I can get us through," she said, "but I'll need to draw on more power than before." "What do you need?" the Admiral asked. "Cover fire, and someone to watch my back. The power, it's hard to control." Do-Hyun took her hand. "I'll keep you grounded." With Earth forces providing cover, He-Yun stepped out. She stretched her consciousness toward the buried crystal, opening herself fully to its energy. Blue light exploded around her body, so bright that soldiers shielded their eyes. He-Yun raised both hands. A massive energy shield formed in front of their forces, blocking enemy fire. With her mind, she reached into the Nexus ships overhead and disrupted their targeting systems. Several veered off course, crashing into each other. The power was overwhelming. He-Yun felt her control slipping. Her body began to float above the ground as energy coursed through her. "He-Yun," Do-Hyun called, still holding her hand. "Stay with me." His voice anchored her. He-Yun focused, directing the crystal's power more precisely. She created a path through the enemy forces, pushing them aside with walls of energy. "Move now," she shouted to Admiral Kang. Earth forces charged forward. He-Yun walked among them, the blue energy swirling around her like a storm. Nexus soldiers who got too close found their neural implants temporarily disabled, freeing them briefly from the hunger's control. Some looked at He-Yun with confusion, even gratitude, before the control reasserted itself. They reached the partially collapsed cave entrance. Admiral Kang ordered his forces to secure the perimeter while He-Yun, Do-Hyun, and a small team entered. Inside, Nexus diggers had cleared a path to the crystal chamber. The massive formation was cracked but still intact, glowing with blue light that pulsed in rhythm with He-Yun's heart. "There it is," she said, approaching the crystal. "The node is damaged but still functional." Admiral Kang stared at the crystal with undisguised awe. "All this time, these have been hidden throughout human space." He-Yun placed her hands on the crystal surface. Her consciousness expanded through the network once more. She could feel the battle raging outside, could sense each ship, each weapon. With careful precision, she sent pulses of energy through Nexus ships, targeting their control systems rather than weapons. For a brief moment, thousands of Nexus minds were freed from the hunger's grip. Confusion spread through their forces. "They're retreating," an Earth officer reported over the communication system. "Nexus ships are breaking formation." He-Yun pushed harder, extending her influence. But the power was too much for her human body. Pain shot through her as the blue energy began to burn her from within. "He-Yun," Do-Hyun cried, seeing her distress. "I can't hold it," she gasped. Too much power. As her control slipped, energy lashed out wildly. The cave shook. Rocks fell from the ceiling. With the last of her strength, He-Yun pulled back from the crystal. The blue light faded as she collapsed into Do-Hyun's arms, blood trickling from her nose and eyes. "Get a medical team," Admiral Kang ordered. Do-Hyun held He-Yun's limp body, tears in his eyes. "Stay with me," he whispered. "Please." Outside, the battle was ending. Nexus forces retreated in disarray, their ships jumping to warp. For the first time since the war began, Humanity had won a decisive victory. But the cost was high. Hei-yun lay unmoving, her skin pale except for the fading blue lines that had once glowed so brightly. The Guardian had saved them all, but in doing so, she might have sacrificed herself. Hei-yun opened her eyes to bright lights and white walls. She was in a medical facility, surrounded by advanced equipment. For a moment, she thought she was dreaming. Then the memories came flooding back. The battle, the crystal's power overwhelming her, the darkness that followed. She tried to sit up but found her body weak. A gentle hand pressed her back down. "Easy," Do-hyun said, his face appearing above her. "You've been unconscious for 3 days." 3 days? Her voice was rough from disuse. "Where are we?" "Earth," Do-hyun replied. "The Admiral's ship brought us here after the battle. The best doctors have been treating you." Hei-yun looked down at her arms. The blue lines were still there, but different now, more like part of her skin than something foreign. She could feel the crystal energy flowing through her, calmer and more controlled than before. "The crystal network," she asked. "What happened after I collapsed?" "You won the battle," Do-hyun said with a smile. "The Nexus retreated from Hyako. Earth forces secured the crystal. Admiral Kang reported everything to Earth's government." The door opened, and Admiral Kang himself entered, followed by Professor Yoon and several official-looking people in formal clothes. "Lieutenant Kim," the Admiral said, "good to see you awake. These are representatives from Earth's unified government." A tall woman stepped forward. "I'm Director Mija Cho. We've been briefed on the Crystal Network and the threat you call the Hunger. Your actions at Hyako saved many lives." Hei-yun tried to sit up again, and this time Do-hyun helped her. "Director, we need to prepare. The Nexus will return with larger forces, and the Hunger won't stop with one defeat." "We understand," Director Cho said. "That's why we're here. Earth is mobilizing all resources to locate crystal nodes in our territory. Professor Yoon has been appointed head of a new research division dedicated to studying the network." Professor Yoon stepped closer. "Hei-yun, the knowledge you've provided is invaluable. But we need more. We need to find the core node you mentioned." Hei-yun closed her eyes, reaching through the crystal network. Her connection felt stronger, more stable now. "I can see more nodes awakening. Some on human worlds, others in distant systems. And," she paused, focusing harder, "I can see other Guardians emerging. They're reaching out." "Can you contact them?" Admiral Kang asked. Hei-yun nodded. "I already have. They've been fighting the Hunger for generations, hiding, preserving what knowledge they can. They want to meet." Director Cho looked surprised. "Alien Guardians want to meet with us." "With me," Hei-yun clarified. "And any other human Guardians we can find. The architects designed the network to work across species. The fight against the Hunger requires all of us." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity had believed itself alone in its war against the Nexus. Now they faced a greater threat, but also had the possibility of greater allies. "What do you need from us?" Director Cho finally asked. Hei-yun looked at each person in the room before answering. "Freedom to follow the network where it leads me, the ship, and a team I trust." Her eyes lingered on Do-hyun and Professor Yoon. Admiral Kang frowned. "You're still a lieutenant in the Earth Defense Fleet. You have duties." "With respect, sir," Hei-yun interrupted, "I serve humanity best as a Guardian now. The Crystal chose me for this role. I need to fulfill it." Before the Admiral could object, Director Cho raised a hand. "The lieutenant is right. This goes beyond military command structures. If these crystals are as powerful as we've seen, and the Hunger as dangerous, we need specialized teams." She turned to Hei-yun. "You'll have your ship and your freedom, Guardian Kim. Choose your team. Earth will support you." Later, when the officials had left, Do-hyun sat beside Hei-yun's bed. "You're really going to do this? Hunt for crystal nodes across the galaxy?" Face this hunger. Hei-yun took his hand. The blue energy flowed gently between them, no longer painful or dangerous. It's what I was meant to do. What about you? You could stay here on Earth, safe. Do-hyun smiled. And miss seeing what happens next. Not a chance. His face grew serious. Besides, you said yourself you need someone to keep you human. A week later, Hei-yun stood on the bridge of her new ship, the _Guardian's Path _. Professor Yoon had assembled a small team of scientists. Do-hyun stood by Hei-yun's side as her second-in-command, though he still marveled at how far he'd come from being a simple farmer. Course set for the Arcturus system, the pilot reported. Crystal node signal detected there, as you predicted, Guardian. Hei-yun nodded. Through the view screen, she watched Earth grow smaller as they departed. Once she had been Lieutenant Hei-yun Kim, a soldier who thought her destiny was to die gloriously in battle for her people. She had escaped that fate when the crystals saved her. Now she had a new purpose. The blue lines under her skin pulsed gently, reminding her of the power and responsibility she carried. The crystal network was slowly awakening throughout the galaxy. The hunger was moving, gathering its forces, and humanity was just beginning to understand the scale of the war they faced. Ready for warp, the pilot announced. Hei-yun took a deep breath. Do-hyun's hand found hers, warm and reassuring. Guardian, he asked softly, are you all right? She looked at him and smiled. I was just thinking about how all this started. I was supposed to die on Epsilon Eridani. I escaped one battlefield. But destiny wasn't done with you, Do-hyun finished. Hei-yun nodded. And now we face a much larger battlefield. She straightened her shoulders and turned to the crew. We have work to do. Engage warp drive. The stars stretched into lines as the ship leaped forward. Somewhere ahead lay the next crystal node, the next piece of the ancient puzzle. Hei-yun Kim, soldier, survivor, guardian, was ready to face whatever came next. She had escaped death once. She had embraced her new destiny, and the galaxy would never be the same.